Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Nathan Drinkard. I'm Jay Wise. Thanks for spending some of your time with us. As you well know, we're on the Anchor app. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and a plethora of other podcast platforms. And if you're looking for the YouTube version of the show, you can find us at the A Drink of Wisdom channel. What's going on, Drink? Plenty to get into today.
Man, you know what it is. Another Saturday morning. You know, if you respect the handle, make sure you check out the channel, and you know what we about to bring. You know what it is. We see what they don't. We're gonna say what they want, and last but not least, let's get into it and let's talk some sports, baby. Let's roll, Jay.
All right, this is episode 58. We've got two game sevens to get into. Rick Carlisle leaves the Mavs, and we react to Cole Beasley's comments on the COVID vaccine. We're going to start in the Western Conference semifinals, where the Los Angeles Clippers have recovered from their second straight 2-0 playoff deficit as they finished off the Utah Jazz last night with a 131-119 win. They were down 25 in the third quarter, and they were able to overcome that deficit. No Kawhi Leonard the past two games, but they got a huge boost from Terance Mann, the Florida State product, with 39 points on 15 for 21, hit 7 threes. They also got big nights from Paul George and Reggie Jackson, 28 and 27, respectively. Donovan Mitchell had 39 for Utah, also 21 from Jordan Clarkson and Royce O'Neal. But the Clippers are moving on to the Western Conference Finals, and they will meet the Phoenix Suns. All right, Drink. How surprised were you that the Clippers were able to come back from this after losing Kawhi Leonard?
Listen. At the end of the day, one of the things that a lot of people knocked the Clippers on was the mental toughness. We wasn't sure if they was tough enough to get over adversity. One thing we seen this offseason is they definitely could overcome adversity. We seen it in the first series against Dallas. Now we see it in this series against Utah. I wouldn't say I was as surprised that they overcome the adversity, but I'll tell you what I was surprised of. I was surprised of how much team camaraderie as I can see that this team has, outside of Kawhi Leonard. Now, listen, I make no mistake. Am I saying this team is better without Kawhi Leonard? Absolutely not. We know Kawhi Leonard is one of the top players in today's league. We know what he can do. And he's one of the few players that can take over a whole game and control the pace of a series. However, you would have to be Ray Charles mixed with Stevie Wonder to sit here and tell me you don't understand that the Clippers seem to be a more of a well-balanced team without Kawhi Leonard. They don't depend on that one player superstar movement as much without Kawhi Leonard. Paul George seems to be, shall I say, more of a compatible piece when he's out there without Kawhi Leonard. Because as I look, that ball gets the zip, 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 gets over to the open man, whether that's Reggie Jackson, whether that's Terance Mann, whether that's, any one of these guys. They're out here playing like a team. And when you play like a team, this is the product of playing like a team. I think the Clippers looking really good right now. As you see, Paul George played 46 of the 48 minutes. Why is that important? Because he was out there making sure that motor kept going. It allowed the likes of Terance Mann. It allowed the likes of Reggie Jackson, which, by the way, you brought up to my attention. Reggie Jackson looking like the OKC Reggie Jackson out this piece. The guy that seemed to have been, his career was going like this until he got to Detroit. And you know what happened when you get to Detroit. They call the Pistons for a reason. Because you just get held up at gunpoint over there. So, listen, Reggie Jackson, like I said, he's coming alive. Even Patrick Beverly, we know, I think Patrick Beverly about as fake as the $3 bill, but hey, he came in there, he showed some intensity. He did what he does. He got under, Donovan Mitchell's skin when he could. So I think even he did a good job. But at the end of the day, I really like this Clipper team better as a team without Kawhi Leonard. It just seems like they trust each other more. They play with a better balance. They play with a better level of confidence. And I really like, what they do on the floor. Now, going over to the Utah Jazz, here's the deal, folks. It's third year in a row. Utah here floundering. I had to hear about how good they was in the regular season. I had to hear about the Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert show. And they got Joe Ingles, and last year they didn't have Bogdanovich. This year they had him. Oh, Mike Conley got hurt. Hold on. Wait a minute. Let me stick a pin in that right quick. Why in the hell did Michael Conley play last night? What was the purpose of him playing last night? Because I don't see much of a difference that he made on his team last night. Maybe you seen it. So when you get on the ones and twos and tell us how you feel, I would love for you to address what in the hell Michael Conley was supposed to do for the Jazz last night, since they made such a big deal that he was coming back to the series. That's neither here nor there. To go back to what I was saying, you know, I hear all these excuses. You got the sixth man of the year, Jordan Clarkson. We both thought that a guy like him would be the difference in a series like this. Not to say he wasn't a difference maker, but he just wasn't enough. So that said, and listen, I think another thing that this series showed is I'm tired of hearing about Rudy Gobert miss the game changer. He's supposed to be the game changer, right? He's supposed to be he's so awesome. That's why he the 3-time defensive player of the year. That's why he a carbon copy of Ben Wallace. Yeah, I gotta hear all this bull crap about, this Hall of Fame career just because he's tall and he's from France or what other country he's from. Like, if he was a tall American like this, we'd probably be calling him a bum. You know why? Because I have to hear all this stuff about how good he is on defense side of the ball. All he do is protect the rim. I don't particularly like him on pick and rolls. I don't particularly like him if the other center then ate a full course meal. I don't like. I'm just not. All this hype I hear about him, it translates to 0 championships. And I'm talking about division championships, conference championships, not even the NBA championship. But I'm sorry, folks, Utah Jazz fans. Like, tell me something here. Like, him and Donovan Mitchell was supposed to be, as I heard it, like an updated version of Karl Malone and John Stockton. Okay, maybe not the Hall of Fame tandem that they were, but they were supposed to be a new age, give and go for Utah. Donovan Mitchell seems to be holding his end of the deal, but come holler at me when Rudy Gobert joins the party. So, Utah gonna really have to figure some things out. I don't. For once in a while, I'm not going to blame the coach. I don't think it's a Quinn Snyder thing. I like Quinn Snyder. I think Quinn Snyder has done fantastic with this team. So I'm not going to go and jump on his head about this. But it's time to get you a more offensive mind center if you can. Like, I hear that Rudy Gobert stuff, but listen, you see Joel Embiid, you see Clint Capella. Which one would you rather have? Like, it's levels to it. Clint Capella, that's your rim protector, defensive guy at the center position. That's the guy you like on the defense. But Joel Embiid is the whole package and some. Let me get some extra sauce. That's the difference into that. You know what I'm saying? Jokic. Rudy Gobert. What would you rather have? I think I would rather have the guy that can give me something on the offense side of the ball. So I'm over that. But to answer your question, I'm not surprised that the Clippers won the series. I am surprised that they made it happen without their number one guy. But at the end of the day, we always said that Paul George was supposed to be the guy that we thought he was going to be. This was going to be the time for him to show it. It seems like he's showing it right now. We got to give him credit because we beat him down when he don't do what he's supposed to do. He seems to be doing what he's supposed to do now. So I have to give hats off to Paul George. We'll see how this translates in the Western Conference Finals. But before I move on, I want to say this. Shouts out to the Western Conference for getting the job done. I mean, now we finally know who's going to play in the finals now. We got 2 Game 7s on the Eastern Conference, so we see how competitive it is out East. But shouts out to the Suns and Clippers. It should be a quite interesting Western Conference Finals. But, we got to give the Clippers their flowers. We beat them up bad last year because they got eliminated from the playoff picture prematurely, and we beat them up bad for that. Now they're in the Western Conference Finals. Shout out to them. And where do the Utah Jazz go from here, I guess?
I feel good up front because I had the Clippers at the beginning. I was definitely wavering off of the Kawhi injury. I did not believe they would get it done. Um, but yeah, Paul George, game 5, I thought he was tremendous. He had 37 points and 16 rebounds. Another solid performance last night. 28, 9 and 7, 3 steals, plus 19 out there. So yeah, he deserves a lot of credit, and he deserves some props from us because we have been hard on Paul George, but I think rightfully so.
Right.
But when you look at what he did the past 2 games without Kawhi Leonard, that's that is why a couple years ago with OKC he was in the MVP conversation. So it's good to see him back, and I think right now he's on top. And we'll see. It's gonna be a great series between the Clippers and the Suns. I do want to go over to Utah, and I'd like to know, can you tell me who Rudy Gobert was guarding last night?
The defensive player of the year trophy. I don't know, man. Like this is what I'm saying, man. I'm
And I
just over that.
and I say that to say, because at the beginning of the series, because the Clippers have been downsizing, they've basically said, Zubac, go sit down. We're gonna downsize, not to the Houston Rocket degree, but Marcus Morris and Nick Batum, you better be ready to get down there and bang with the big boys. And then we got Reggie Jackson, Paul George, and Kawhi when healthy. And when I looked at that lineup, I said, man, they got 5 guys. They're gonna spread you out. They're gonna put 5 guys on the perimeter. Everybody can shoot threes. What does that leave for Gobert?
Right.
Defensive player of the year. I get all that. And it would just appear to me that this is a guy who sits in the paint and is a rim protector. And I think the Clippers, to me, they said, all right, well, you got the rim. We'll come out here and shoot. We'll play 4 corners, or we'll do something. We just gonna light up the 3-point line. That's what they did.
And I want people to understand this because you hit this stat a lot every time you watch NBA games and you get confused. The Clippers was the #1 team in the NBA at 3-point shots taken. The Jazz was the #1 team in the NBA at 3-point shots made. So that should tell the Jazz that the Clippers going to shoot threes.
Yeah.
So what do you do with Rudy Gobert? My bad. I just want to throw that in there.
No, and it just bounces off of what I'm saying, and like to me, what they kind of should have been prepared for. You know, these guys last night they go 20 for 39, 51%. The Jazz were really good from 3-point range last night too, but it's just an immediate problem because and now if you say, okay, Gobert, go out there and go mess with Marcus Morris on the perimeter, now you have a situation where now there's going to be driving lanes. So I thought, it was a quandary. I thought Quinn Snyder was going to be in from the get-go. And based on the past 4 games, it doesn't look like they solved it. I think Ty Lue deserves a lot of credit for this team getting through. I know after Doc Rivers left and the way Paul George ended his season last year, and then you had Lou Williams gone, Montrezl Harrell gone, I was not really high on this Clipper team. I still felt like I still had them and the Lakers above the rest of the pack, but last year I was more high on the Clippers. This year I was more high on the Lakers. What ended up happening, the Lakers just couldn't get healthy. We know that. And the Clippers now almost they got their own injury problems. They were able to overcome it. We'll see how it goes as they move on. What's Chris Paul's status for that series? We'll have to wait and see, I guess. But yeah, I think Ty Lue and the Clippers as a whole, they deserve a lot of credit. I think Reggie Jackson is a guy who hasn't been talked enough. I think he's been a really consistent guy. He's really just, it's been like Patrick Beverley, and he's that guy who gets a lot of attention for just being an absolute pest. Allegedly, they trade in for Rajon Rondo. Oh, he's gonna be the missing piece, and he's gonna be the spark plug. And I'm looking at like this dude can't even get on the floor right now. Right. Reggie Jackson then stepped in and took over, looking like Detroit probably up at like, why? Where was this? Is what we signed up for when we brought him in. Where was this? He's been great, and he deserves a lot of credit. But to go back to Rudy Gobert, and the Jazz real quick. You know, you said Donovan Mitchell's holding up his end of the bargain. I think he is. I think Donovan Mitchell has shown that he's on that fringe superstar status. And I think it. And by the way, I think it's a travesty that he didn't make one of the All NBA teams.
Right.
Contrast that with Rudy Gobert sliding in. He Rudy Gobert about to be the next bar soap because he just slick. Because look, you got
King
Jokic,
size.
you got Jokic first team MVP. We understand it. Joel Embiid second team. He should be on the first team too. We got to revise this somehow. And then Gobert. We feeling a little anticlimactic over here. This guy Rudy Gobert, we get it, rim protecting, and he can come in there and rebound and clean up the offensive glass, get some putbacks and all the rest of it. But I'm looking for guys who have versatility in their game. This guy,
hey, hold on, but you know who else can do that? Andre Drummond. You know who else can do that? Clint Capella. You know who? Like, what's special about that?
And they not getting it, and they not getting that shine. I think Rudy Gobert's stature in this league is just based on the fact that centers are a dying breed, and there's just not a whole lot of elite ones. But the ones that are elite are the ones that can do more things than just what a guy did back in the 1990s. And that's why Embiid and Jokic have just separated themselves by, miles from the rest of the pack. Gobert don't do, our offense, and I think this should almost maybe be a requirement for a center. If you're not going to do, and I'm not asking him to be Jokic or Embiid and step out to the three-point line and do all these crazy things, but could you at least get a post game? Would that be too much to ask? Could you develop a post game?
You know what? So what you said is right. You're not asking them to be Jokic or Embiid, but can you be DeAndre Ayton? Can you give us some of that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Can you give us some of that at least?
So and then a third team All NBA performer can go out there and I know what he's like. Oh well, he had a double last night. He had 12 points and 10 rebounds. Ain't that about the most empty calorie 42-minute elimination game performance? That's and you third team All NBA. Yeah, not a good look. Not a good look. That's all. And in this series, you got exposed. And I think, and I really think Quinn Snyder. If you're in almost retrospect, they maybe you should have maybe you have to combat that downside. Well, maybe you got to play Gobert a little less because that's just a mismatch. There ain't nobody. Look, Batum, Morris, Jackson, Paul George, and Terance Mann. Who we gonna guard? You can't guard any of those guys. And if he does guard them, now he's out of the paint, which is where he's supposed to do, and there's gonna be driving lanes. So I think, in retrospect, maybe Quinn Snyder should have been a little bit more outside the box with this. Maybe you go with Niang or Favors or somebody else.
And I was just gonna say he tried that. This is why I can't blame Quinn Snyder. He did try that. It's because Favors played some pretty good minutes. Yang, he was awful. George Niang or whatever, he was god awful this series. And then Favors tried, but he wasn't much better. So I kind of think Quinn Snyder got stuck with playing Rudy Gobert more than he wanted to play him, and he just couldn't do anything about it. But I think he did try what you just said.
That's fair. That's fair. He gave it a good try, and I think in the end it was also just in some shape or form a bad matchup, and that's another reason I give Ty Lue a lot of credit for what they were able to accomplish. But anyway, congrats to the Los Angeles Clippers. That's their first ever conference finals appearance. So golf platform, and we'll see how it turns out in the Western Conference Finals against the Phoenix Suns.